The food and energy crisis just took a turn for the worst. Now look, I shouldn't have to tell you that you already know that the food and energy, the two most important things in the world, are in a very serious situation globally. In the United States, we're seeing price of food and energy go through the roof. And the rest of the world are also seeing it go through the roof, and they're under real threat of actually seeing shortages of food. Even in the United States, we are in a threat potentially of seeing fuel rationing this year in 2022. Now, I know that can't ever happen in the United States, right? Well, it did. It happened in 1974, and it can certainly happen again. But today, we're looking at the turn for the worse that's really going to be affecting the rest of the world, specifically in Europe. The U.S., it's actually kind of a little bit of a good thing. What do I mean by that? Well, let's go ahead and jump in and see what happened, and I'll break this down for you so you can understand. So, breaking news as of today, U.S. natural gas crashes after the Freeport LNG terminal closure update. So what does that mean? Well, there's a Freeport LNG terminal. It's going to be closed after an explosion shuttered the major export facility last week. All right, that's what happened. So first of all, LNG, natural gas. What are you talking about? So gas is gas, obviously, right? In order to transport it globally, we have to convert that into liquid. And so they liquefy the natural gas and turn it from a gas into liquid. And they do that through these export terminals where they take the gas and they have to put it through this process. Then that has to be shipped in these liquefied LNG containers. And then when it's received in a different continent, like in Europe, then they also need a facility where they can turn it back into gas again. So, as you might be aware, we're trying to get as much natural gas as we can to Europe. We can see that supposedly this is going to be late 2022 before this happens. So what's happened because of this? Well, a couple things. It's interesting. First, let's talk about what's happening. So the EU, as you can see here, is trying to cut its dependence on Russian gas by 2/3 this year. Should be as no surprise to you that Europe has put themselves into a very dangerous situation where they depend on Russia for natural gas. Now, Europe used to have natural gas without Russia. The UK has big shale natural gas reserves. The Netherlands has massive shale natural gas reserves, and they've decided to not get it out of the ground anymore. They don't want to get out of the ground because, climate change and other reasons like that. And so instead, they're 100% dependent on Russia. Of course, that's made Russia bigger and badder, and it's put them beholden to them. Now, in a world where the entire world's trying to sanction Russia, put themselves into a very serious situation. Do we continue to sanction Russia and cut ourselves off from energy, which of course we need, or do we continue to support Russia? It's a tough conundrum that they found themselves into. Now, what do we need natural gas for? Well, we need it for all types of things, including heating your home. You don't want people to freeze to death. In Europe, it gets pretty cold. But we also need natural gas for food, for a few types of food. First of all, in Europe is one of the major producers of fertilizer, and they need nitrogen-based fertilizer, which needs LNG or natural gas in order to make that. And so they don't have fertilizer. Now, if they don't have fertilizer, then they don't have what comes next? Oh yeah, food. They don't have food either. That's a problem. So they need this natural gas, and they're getting it from Russia. But it says right here, the EU imported 45% of its total gas imports from Russia in 2021, but they want to cut off 2/3 of this supply this year. How are they going to do that? Well, they have a bunch of hopes and dreams that probably won't work out very well, and they have a little bit of a plan, and that plan was for the United States to help pick up that slack and start exporting natural gas. Now, the United States has a massive amount of natural gas. As a matter of fact, the United States has so much natural gas that over the last 5 to 10 years, it's been waste, meaning we don't even capture it. So as we're getting oil out of the ground, natural gas also comes out of the ground. A lot of these producers have been flaring it, meaning they're burning it, or just letting it release into the atmosphere. It's been worth $2 per MCF, $3, $4, not even worth enough to capture. But in other countries, it's very expensive. As we can see here, this is a natural gas commodity price in Europe and the United States from 1980 to 2021. And so you can see the United States has been $2, $2.25, $3, $3, but Europe has been triple that. You can see here back in 2013, Europe is 11, while the U.S. is 3. The U.S. drops down to 2, Europe still at 7, etc. And now you can see this big deviation where Europe is at 34 U.S. dollars per million British thermal units, while the U.S. is at 5. Now, if the U.S. is at 5 and the world is at 35, why wouldn't the U.S. just sell it to Europe? Well, the reason why is because, as I explained in the beginning, it has to get liquefied. So we have to have export terminals, and then there has to be import terminals. And we haven't had those in the United States. Now, the U.S. has been scrambling to get more export terminals up and running to help ease this. Now, this is a good and bad problem. It depends on where you live. If you live in the United States, this could be a very bad problem for you because energy markets are global. If I could sell it for $5 in the US or $35 in Europe, why wouldn't I sell it for $35? Of course, the answer is you would want to if you could. So when we get enough of these LNG terminals up and running and we can start exporting enough energy to the world, it doesn't bring the world's prices down. It brings the US prices up. Because now U.S. buyers, you, for your house and your barbecue, are going to have to compete with a global market that's at $35. And so imagine being in the U.S. and seeing the price of natural gas going from $5 to $35. Imagine the pain. Imagine how much that's going to bring your gas bill up, etc. Right? You can imagine that. But for now, it's actually worked out in the opposite. So because of this crash, which is about I think it's 16%, what we can see, 16% of the total U.S. LNG export capacity. So this one plant here represents 16 to almost 20% of our total export capacity. And since it blew up and we can't export that natural gas, now that natural gas is coming or staying in the United States. So it sent U.S. natural gas prices down almost 20%. Come on, look, supply and demand. Do I have to keep saying this over and over? If you increase the supply by 20%, or said another way, 20% of the supply that was going to leave now has to stay here, then what happens to the prices? The prices come down about 20%. Likewise, natural gas prices in Europe are soaring because they've just lost 20% of their supply. Make sense? So what's going on here? Well, a couple things. I know a lot of you out there with your tinfoil hats and your conspiratorial thoughts, which, hey, I like to play in those waters too, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that this was intentionally shut down. I'm not saying this was firebombed. Now, of course, Russia might have an interest in having this facility shut down because they want Europe to continue to buy from them. But I'm not saying that's what happened. I think what's more likely what's happening, you're seeing that food plants are blowing up all over the place. LNG places are blowing up. Animal or food, whatever, they're all going up in flames. I don't think it's so much sabotage. What I think is happening is that the world is breaking down. If you've ever read the book Atlas Shrugged, we're literally watching and witnessing that book play out in real time. If you haven't read that book, then you certainly should, because it basically is the playbook that we're witnessing, watching happen in real time. Now, if you haven't read the book, you should. If you don't want to read the book, you should at least watch the movie. I think it's a 3-part series. Just go onto your streaming app and search for Atlas Shrugged. They have some good, Hollywood actors. It's a good, entertaining movie. I think you would like it. But that's what's going on in Europe. Europe thinks they're going to get off of Russian fuel, but the U.S. that's trying to supply it is continuing to hit one roadblock after another. This will get resolved. I don't know if any more will come up, but things to watch out for. If you're in Europe, you're waiting for this to get fixed, and hopefully your prices will come back down. If you're in the U.S., you're watching these LNG facilities get built and hoping they don't get built too fast because your energy prices are going up. All right, now, this is important if you're an investor because you want to know where the price of energy is going. If you're in Europe, and the prices of energy are going up or down, or in the U.S. going up or down, you need to invest accordingly. But let me know what you think. Leave me a comment down below. And if you're new to this channel, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you know every time I put a video out. And of course, as always, give me a thumbs up with this video if you like it. If you don't like the video, you can give me a dislike, but at least leave me a comment and tell me why. And that's what I got for you today. All right, to your success. I'm out. Since you've stayed to the end, I know you like this video, which means you're probably gonna really like this video right here and this video right here.